Get ready for a thick video, everyone, because we're tackling science fiction. So with this, aliens. They're everywhere in video games, movies, books, TV shows, primarily those that fit the sci-fi genre. But they all seem to fall close under the fiction genre and seem to avoid the science. The Mass Effect series added some science with dextro-amino acid-based aliens, like the Turians and Quarians, but again, dark matter-altering psionic powers and thousand-year-old hot blue alien women fall much closer to the fiction genre. But this is presented as a science fiction game, so we all accept it and move on by picking from a variety of paramours as we take on the giant purple space squids. Fun, right? But this is overanalysis. We don't shy away from analyzing a topic with scrutiny just because the word fiction was put in the genre. What if there were science fiction games that weren't so fictional with their alien races? It's hard to wrap my head around because the possibility of life in the universe is endless, given the number of chemicals, molecules, and elements there are in the universe. Yes, it all comes down to chemistry. You see, most life on Earth is dependent on the sun and requires similar elements and chemical compounds and mixtures to survive. Primarily water, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon-based sugars. The human body, as well as other life on Earth, requires a vast amount of chemical and molecular compounds and elements such as iron, magnesium, fatty acids like the omega-3 fatty acid, and water and fat-soluble vitamins and minerals. It would take a while to list off all the required compounds and elements life requires on the planet Earth, namely because there is such a great diversity of life on Earth that all require their own specific cocktail of chemical goodness. But there is life on Earth that utilizes different means of what we know as respiration, or even do something completely different. Example 1. Have you ever gone to a swamp or a marshland and the air smells like rotten eggs? This is due to hydrogen sulfide. This colorless gas is a byproduct of bacteria utilizing sulfate ions from the water around them. The bacteria break apart the ion and use the oxygen in energy production. The sulfur atom is combined with two hydrogen atoms, and H2S is released as a byproduct of this specific type of respiration. In wetlands, deep in the mud, there is little to no oxygen. It is an anaerobic environment. So the bacteria living there use different oxygen-carrying ions, like sulfate, to get their oxygen. And each variety of bacteria uses a different ion. The utilization of different ions and compounds to create energy independent of oxygen is called anaerobic respiration. What we call aerobic respiration, what most life on Earth undergoes, is the usage of a carbon, sugar, and oxygen to produce usable cellular energy. The end byproduct is water and carbon dioxide. These are what humans breathe out, what lizards breathe out. Even plants undergo aerobic respiration at night. But aerobic respiration is dependent on oxygen, and we've already shown that there is life on Earth independent of O2. But what does this mean for video games? I've just spent a good chunk of time talking about science and not the fiction. Sorry, my scientist is showing. But this information shows us that there is life possible outside of what we know and conceive as traditional life. Let's also take a look at the bacteria that live at the bottom of the ocean. They undergo chemosynthesis, a form of energy production completely independent of the sun's energy. We can all see that life is incredibly resilient and will appear even in the strangest of places, even flourish. So why must all aliens in every video game be mostly bipedal, English-speaking, and anthropomorphic? The best example I've seen of a realistic alien in a video game is the Elcor from the Mass Effect series, a species of alien that is quadrupedal from a world with heavier gravity. They also convey emotions through pheromones rather than speech, so there's something new. But the emotions they convey are human emotions. All aliens, or most in the mainstream, seem to convey human emotions. But where do our emotions come from? Emotions, in theory, were developed out of evolution. Evolution doesn't just involve selection of biological processes. It can also affect psychological ones too. Meaning, people or animals with better psychological traits, or a more desirable personality, will be more often selected for reproduction by a mate. From this, we can say that all emotions like happiness, sadness, even love, were born out of an innate instinct that developed to the point of expression and were deemed desirable by the social environment that they existed in. Expressions of emotions, even personality, are traits that were selected by our ancestors. But were there emotions that didn't make the cut for humanity? With a human's wide berth of emotions that range from things like melancholy to manic, even bittersweet happiness, there could be things we could never possibly feel, because they have either been selected out of our cognitive range of emotions, or have yet to be developed based on changes in our behavior. We see atypical emotions or feelings, like joy from taking a life, or sexual arousal from the sight of blood. These aren't all bad, save for the killing one. That's a really bad one. And are usually a niche market of emotions and feelings where you find someone compatible because of the immensity of the human population. But with the universe being so big and all the possible chemical and elemental combinations out there, is it inconceivable to think that there is intelligent alien life that has a norm set of emotions or behaviors that is completely different from humanity's? Then why don't we touch on this in science fiction? I've been using Mass Effect as an example a lot in this video. They did things differently, like adding life forms that were born of an ammonia-based atmosphere, and organisms that have amino acids that use dextrose as a sugar, and their structure that changes their whole body chemistry. But there's still a lot of fiction in there. The aliens aren't alien. They still act like humans, feeling love, happiness, sadness, laughing, crying, yelling, and all of the rest of the things we think of when we think of ourselves. Moreover, everyone speaks English in the Mass Effect series, and it is never explained why. But hey, I may be overthinking this a little bit. Thanks for watching. Biology and psychology are passions of mine, so it's needless to say I had a lot of fun making this video and doing the research. If any of you out there have passions you want me to touch on, or any ideas you want me to put on my next video, leave a comment or contact me on Twitter, @BenMayOA. Follow me for updates on my videos, or leave a suggestion.